ask Ms. Lauren Martin if you would please call the roll.
Colonel Smith,
Here.
Daniel Gray,
Here.
Ava Coleman. Here. Jim Moore,
Absent.
Ron McDaniel,
Present.
Dina Brockway. Here. Lauren Martin here. Laura Walker. Here. Here except for Mr. Lawrence.
All right, very good. All right, now we will observe a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. McDaniel will lead us in the pledge.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item I have on our agenda is legal update. I see Mr. Richardson has joined us this evening. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Is that on? Okay, red light is on. You're in the admirable position of having no active litigation right now, so congratulations.
That means no money outlay, right?
On litigation. There's plenty of other bills to pay, I'm sure Dr. Oval can tell you about that. So we had pending a motion with the federal court on approval of funds for Taylor Elementary School, but the division, the state agreed to help fund that school, so we withdrew that motion and dismissed that. We also had a motion pending with the federal court on the middle school expansion, and Judge Marshall approved that with a little bit of a caveat. He said, make sure that that doesn't negatively impact the advancement of the 2 remaining schools to be replaced, which I thought was fine because I knew y'all were eager to do that anyway. So I think that encouragement just falls in line with your directions. We'll have a status update due on the 1st of July on the progress of our facilities plan. I think he's gotten the bulk of it, and all we'll really do is update him on what's happening with the middle school. And I don't know that we'll have a whole lot to tell him at that point. And with that, I think your litigation is all quiet on the Western Front right now.
All right. Any questions? Comments? We appreciate you, sir. Keep having no litigation like that.
Always an honor to represent the Titans.
Thank you, sir. All right, that leads us into facilities update. Do you have anybody for facilities this evening?
No, Russ and Matthew were caught in a meeting, so they were unable to be with us. But we continue to meet on preliminary steps for the 2 new facilities, potential facilities, as well as wrapping up some loose ends with JES and JNPSD. There's some issues with some equipment, but they're working on that too, along with our directors to work through.
Sounds like we're just finalizing the survey to get the details on the Pinewood land purchase to close it out.
That's correct, and we will also hear about the partnership funding May this year. So we're looking forward to that. Definitely be part of the status update for Judge Marshall.
All right, well, that takes us into the superintendent's report. So carry on, sir.
Thank you. This past month, I wanted to vote my superintendent's report to our board members, because this past month they have been representing the district at professional development, professional learning. And so we had a team to go to Nashville to view the academies of Nashville in an effort to continue to move our academies here at JHS forward. And of course, we know we cannot do that effectively and efficiently without the support of our board members. So I wanted our board members who attended to have the opportunity to share anything that you would like to share with the audience.
So we visited Nashville last week. It was a wonderful experience to be able to tour the schools, to see the products from the academies on a long-term basis. They had been doing it for 15 years. They had students to give their testimonies, which was, to me, is huge because them as the people working in the schools, of course, they can tell us how it works and it's good, but to hear the testimonies from the students and from the parents and the community perspective was huge. They have a lot of support from businesses, and it was great to go in and see the facilities in an actual school, to see how they run, to see their scheduling. It was simply amazing. We are doing a lot of the things that they're already doing. We do need to put a few things in motion, but we're still new. Like I said, they've been doing it for 15 years, but I think that we're definitely getting in the right direction as far as doing what we need to do for our scholars.
And then Mr. McDaniel had the opportunity to travel with me to San Antonio for the Vision Conference. Mr. McDaniel, do you want to share?
I think the majority of the participants were Texans, but we did learn that we have some common problems with the teacher shortage, trying to find ways to do things smartly without taking into consideration that and funding. I thought it was pretty interesting. It was in San Antonio, and they've got a real, we start talking about academies, they've got some interesting academies there too. They got them tailored. One industry that really needed some specialized workers was the Toyota plant there. And they set up basically an academy to train the young people in the area, automation techniques, so they could work at the factory, because they didn't want to bring people in from out of town. They wanted the local community to be involved in the process. So I thought that was pretty interesting, but enjoyed it, the trip. Barbecue's always good in San Antonio, so I've had no complaints.
Well, thank you, Mr. McDaniel. And, you know, I tell you, it's great to have our board members to travel and to see and learn about the work that we're doing as a school district, because we're not only preparing our scholars for the 4-year experience at a collegiate institution, but more so that 2-year technical experience or ready for the workforce. And that's what the academies are all about, is preparing our scholars for whatever phase, next phase in life after they walk across that stage with us, their 12th grade year, with a plan in place with certification so that they're ready to be active participants in our community. And with that, the importance of partnering with our local businesses so that we are providing those scholars with those experience, with those certifications, so that they can move straight into that workforce and support our local businesses and fill those voids as well. So thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedule to attend, and we look forward to moving our academies forward. So that concludes my report.
Awesome. All right, next item we've got is our consent agenda. Is there anything in the consent agenda that needs to be pulled off for discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? And opposed? That passes unanimously. All right, refunding and construction bond. I see Mr. Beardsley has joined us. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Got some pens for us?
Always, even though you've already signed the documents. All right. Is this better? No? How about that? There we go. All right. You mind taking one and passing them around? So Dr. Owenbaugh asked me to explain a little bit about my role tonight for some of the newer board members and why the board has to issue a bond. So just like if any of you were going to build a new home, most of us don't have enough cash in the bank to pay cash for the new home. We take out a mortgage. The school district operates the same way, in that it borrows the money when it builds this facility or any of the other facilities that it's building. And under Arkansas state law, the school district can't go to the local bank and get a loan. The maximum you can get a loan for is 1 year, which We typically borrow for 30 years when we build one of the new schools. The State Department of Education has oversight when school districts borrow money. And so the district submitted an application to the Department of Education when you started this process. And they monitor it every time you issue a new bond. Then they check the debt. They actually check our fee schedule because there's some regulations related to what we can charge the school district for working with you. And then they look at the final transfer that comes into the district. The district is also required to sell the bonds at competitive bid. We can't go out and negotiate on your behalf and try to find the lowest interest rate. And so we have a network of about 15 to 25 bidders across the country. The larger the size of the bond issue, the wider the net we try to cast. And this last bond issue was $55 million approximately. And so anything over $25 to $30 million typically gets Wall Street's attention. They kind of have a minimum deal size. They don't really like to go below 25 or 30 million. So we'll go over the bids. You'll recognize some of the names, and some of them will be new names to us. The district authorized the superintendent to accept the low bid. And that's really the only option we have. We either accept the lowest interest rate bid, or we have to reject it. And then once that happened, the board passes a final motion tonight, and the officers have already signed the bonds. They get shrink wrapped in plastic and mailed to New York. If all the computers in the world go down, you still owe the money because they've got that package in a warehouse somewhere, probably in New Jersey. So that's kind of what we're here to do. The voters gave us permission to do this several years ago, and we have been issuing bonds as the school starts new projects. And so this $55 million allows us to refinance some of your old debt at a lower rate of interest, just like refinancing your house, and also borrow about $15 million for new construction as you continue to fund the projects underway. So any questions about that before I take you through the final motion? All right, so in your board packets is a final recap. What we offered out to the market is $55,410,000 worth of bonds that mature from June 1st of this year through June 1st of 2052, so an average of 30 years. And you received 6 bids. Lowest bid was from Raymond James, which has an office here in Arkansas, several of them. It's based out of Tampa, Florida, at 2.95. Second place was Citigroup out of New York at 2.98. Third place was Wells Fargo Bank at 3.019. Fourth place was Bank of America at 3.05. Next was R.W. Baird out of Minneapolis at 3.057. And lastly, JP Morgan out of New York at 3.42. To kind of put that in perspective, we had borrowed money closer to 2% in the past, but interest rates have gone up. And when we started this, we thought as long as rates don't go over 4%, we'll be within the budget of what the voters gave us approval, the payments to make. So while interest rates have trended up over the last 3 or 4 months, we're still within budget on our debt payments. The winning bidder has the right to select the bank that you make your payments to twice a year, and they selected U.S. Bank, their Brandon, Mississippi location. We're set to fund on St. Patrick's Day, which is Thursday of this week. The paragraph that says transfer of funds lays out all the wire transfers that will take place where you're paying off some of your old bond issues. The amount I would draw your attention to is the very last sentence. Credit $15,241,361.92. That's the amount the district has for construction. Because you're borrowing this money exempt from federal taxes, the U.S. government says that school districts, if they follow certain rules, which you have followed, can borrow money that the investor does not have to pay federal taxes on. And if you live in the state of Arkansas, you don't have to pay state income tax on the interest that the school district pays you. But because the IRS is involved, there are some rules, and it's my responsibility to tell you our good friends at the IRS have the right to come audit you. And the kinds of things that they're going to look at are, did you spend the money the way that you told the taxpayers? And you said you're going to build new school facilities with it. And did you spend it within a reasonable amount of time, which the IRS generally defines as 3 years or 36 months? The reason for that is there were some California school districts and cities that years ago would borrow money, not do a project, and go invest it, and try to make more on the investments than the interest rate that they were earning. That's called arbitrage, and it's against the law now. So to make sure that you're not doing it, the IRS is going to look at the amount of interest that you earn on the $15 million deposit over the next 3 years that you have to spend it. If for some reason you were to make more in interest than the rate you're paying the investors, and it took you more than 3 years to spend the money, we would have to give the difference back to the federal government. Given your construction timeline, that shouldn't be a challenge. You'll have spent all of this money, and we will borrow again for the next phase of construction. But all of those fun rules are attached in your packets. There's about 6 pages of IRS small print, so if you would like to read those tonight when you're trying to go to sleep, you have those, and it won't last long. Otherwise, there is a motion at the bottom of page 1 that somebody on the board can make and then vote, and you're good to get your money Thursday.
Very good, sir. Thank you so much. Are there any questions for Mr. Beardsley?
Make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation for refunding and construction bond.
Okay. So I've got a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation to adopt a resolution authorizing the issuance and delivery of the $55,410,000 Jacksonville North Pulaski School District of Pulaski County, Arkansas, refunding and construction bonds, Series C, dated March 17, 2022, and other documents pertaining thereto as prepared by the Friday Eldridge and Clark Law Firm. Is that your motion, sir?
I don't know, I'm confused now. I was just gonna do the recommendation down here. I didn't know I had to.
That was your motion.
Okay.
And that's been seconded. Any other discussion or questions?
A plus on
Very well thought out, huh?
Yes.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Beardsley, we appreciate you. Okay. Classified PPC proposals.
As outlined in the law, we have 2 personnel policy committees within our district. We have the licensed personnel policy committee as well as the classified personnel policy committee. They meet on a monthly basis, and from time to time, they are charged to by the group that they represent throughout the district to review and maybe revise policy to come up with proposals for the board to consider. And so tonight we have Mrs. Michelle Dove and Mr. Samuel Turner with proposals from the classified PPC.
Good afternoon. Appreciate you letting us visit with y'all today. Yeah, see if we can get this thing on. There we go. What we're trying to do is we have a revision in the bus drivers and the nurses during the regular school year. What's happening is during the summer, you might have a substitute nurse or a substitute bus driver who might be on a contract during the regular year, and they're getting paid minimum wage during the summer instead of their contract wage. We'd like to revise that so we can get a revision on it, that bus drivers or the transportation people would keep their pay as they were contracted during the regular year. And also the nurses, if you have a substitute nurse or an LPN that comes in and works, we would like for them to be paid. They're getting paid $15 an hour or $20 an hour. And we like to see if that could be increased to $25 for LPN and $35 for the nurse practitioners. So now if it's just a bus driver who's not on contract, they will stay at a minimum wage at $12 an hour. Now this would be only affected by contract workers, so it's not be a big, bill to the budget. The other thing we like to do, we have several nutrition managers who have been sick, and we have employees who have to step in and do that manager's job. And what we would like to do there is add $1.86 to the wage. If they have to work more than 3 days in that period of time where that manager's gone, we would like to see their wage increase for $1.86 until the manager comes back. That's it.
Okay.
You might have a question on that as we
So there's two different
propose it. Mhm. And Michelle will talk about the paraprofessionals.
And before we get to that, board, I will say that, I did have a chance to meet, with Mr. Turner, and Mrs. Dell on both proposals. And with this one, just so that you all will have additional information, the district does support, this proposal because, it makes the, compensation fair, for, classified staff members during the summer. Also, it's important to know that most of the time during the summer, these funds are not coming out of operational funds. It's usually whatever's supported by that summer school program. So if it's ESSER or if it's Title I or ESA, and so I want you all to have that understanding that it's not coming out of operating. Now, the child nutrition staff member, that increase would come out of operating, but that's in lieu of the fact that the cafeteria manager has been out. And so in order for us to fairly compensate our staff member who has stepped up to be manager during that absence, we support, the district supports this increase for that time period.
All right, we want to handle these two proposals before we move on to the next one. Is that how you would see that? Or?
You would definitely handle it separately, but it's to the pleasure of the board if you want to handle this one first and then move on to the next.
Well, while it's fresh, while you got a question? Yes, ma'am.
I just had a quick question. I wanted to
Green
verify.
Don't forget the button.
Okay, I wanted to verify that, like the bus drivers that take the baseball team, football team, the girls, wherever, that will be what their current salary hourly is for the rest of the year?
What this proposal is the increase for the summertime rate. So if they're working during the summer now, they would still get the rate,
Okay.
what
So
they're
it's-
contracted for.
This is just the summer. So
Yes,
I
ma'am.
need to talk to them later about that.
That is correct.
Okay,
We've discussed that already, we're talking.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion to,
Make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation for the revision of the additional pay schedule for the bus drivers and the nurse subs, and also the nutrition staff member that steps in to replace the cafeteria manager for more than 3 days.
that would be the classified PPC recommendation? All right.
Second.
Got a second? All right, any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Very good.
Good evening.
Evening.
And especially during the COVID pandemic, paraprofessionals in our district have had to substitute in a classroom setting for multiple days at a time. Sometimes it's in a classroom for 1 week and then you're off to a next classroom for another week. Some days we have paraprofessionals that come to the door and before they even get to their regular classroom or to their desk, they are told after they get their temp checked, hey, we need you to go to this classroom and sub for this teacher. And we are actually losing paraprofessionals, some, not all, to this. And so we sat down and the classified PPC, we are wanting to propose the new policy for paraprofessionals that if no substitute teacher is available, that paraprofessionals may be used as substitutes. However, that they shall be paid an amount equal to $30 a day above their regular rate of pay. And then in addition, we also have regular classroom paraprofessionals who have been substituting for one-on-one sped paras or regular sped paras. And a one-on-one sped para and a regular sped para get paid more than our regular classroom paras and instructional paras. And we're asking that they be compensated an extra $1.50 an hour, and we calculated that, on the new 4% pay increase for this fall. And from a zero pay scale on the zero pay lane for a regular para to a zero pay lane on the sped para, it was $1.56, so we just put it at $1.50 an hour. But that's what we are asking for, to just compensate our paraprofessionals when they are assigned as a substitute teacher for the day.
All right.
I will add that currently for substitute teachers, we're paying a daily rate of $95 for non-certified subs through the ESS program, the sub company that we're using for a full day, and then $47.50 for a half day for non-certified. And so we did look at the cost and the actual need. Well, two things. One, the lack of being able to secure subs and having to move our classified staff members into that position. And also, to be honest, to be fair, when we have licensed staff members available, we sometimes move them into classrooms during their prep, and they get compensated for their time and subbing in there. So the district supports this proposal as well.
Any questions? Got a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, got a motion to approve the classified PPC. Verification. All in favor? All opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
I wasn't quick enough, and I did not want to interrupt Ms. Dove. It does include that additional time, that it includes field trips during the year. We were paying them a fat $11 for the bus drivers. You asked
So
them,
now they will get.
they'll get
whatever
their
hourly rate is.
yes, they were getting, okay,
Thank
that's
you.
additional pay, and that was what we thought was very fair, because we weren't being able to get anybody to do a field trip during the year for $11.
Well, that's what I was thinking. You make, I don't know what they make. I should know, maybe, I don't know, but say they make $20 an hour and they're making $11 to work overtime.
And not just field trips, it's also those extracurricular runs
Yes,
that for sporting events.
Yes.
It wasn't financially
Sad.
enticing for our staff to do those. And then just to add on with our nurses, during the summer, if we wouldn't have been able to do this, it would have been more financially feasible for them to go somewhere else during the summer and not stay with us. So I appreciate you all.
I'm sorry, but I
Oh, no, that's
didn't want to
okay.
interrupt her. All
No,
right.
thank you.
Thanks, sir. All right, next item on our agenda is the Pinewood, Warren Dupree, and North Pulaski High School school auctions.
As we prepare to close those schools, or we have closed them, but as we prepare to change the usage of Pinewood, of course, we would like to move forward with emptying and demolishing Warren Dupree as well as North Pulaski High School. Of course, we know that part of the lease agreement with North Pulaski, we must turn that space back into green space. But we wanted to be financially savvy with that, and so we're asking for your approval to hold an auction. The pandemic definitely has stopped the ability for certain items to make it to companies, and so we would like to let that benefit the district by selling different parts of the facility, like doors, fixtures, things of that nature, things that are hard to get, and we could do so effectively through this auction. Mr. Lester is running lead on that with our staff members as well. And so the approval, the recommendation is to approve the forward movement or the next steps into securing a contract with the auction company.
All right, questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, any?
And I will note that the funds generated from this will go into the building fund. So as we move forward, that would help us move forward with any either construction needs or anything that additional that's needed additionally in the buildings. Like there were several things in JES and JMS that were not really included in the first round, so we had to purchase. So this would help meet that need.
Okay, I think I mentioned this before, but aren't we obligated to offer these facilities to charter schools?
Well, we're obligated to go through the process, and so we can, before we demolish the buildings, we must go through that. But the law does not, and Scott, you can tell me if I'm wrong with this, but it does not mention that we cannot sell the items inside the facilities. Now, I have spoken to the facilities department, and because Warren Dupree, North Pulaski, Pinewood is not even in the equation with that, but those two facilities were deemed unusable for students, and hence the reason why we were given partnership funding. But there's still a process that we have to go through before we demolish, and we'll go through that. But we would like to move forward with some auction. Right? And there's a lot of other things that are just loose items like desks, things that we have excess of that we can, it would be great to sell and move out of storage.
All right, any other discussion?
After we vote, I have a question.
It's not how that works.
You'll understand.
All in favor? Any opposed? Steve.
Okay, I have had a lot of people, just rumor on Facebook and people asking, they want, a lot of the old alumni from North Pulaski want to get bricks. I'm sure Bobby has heard this too, because we're probably with the same group. Okay, well, I just want to make sure that we can make it available, and if they want to come pick them up once we start demolishing, whatever.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Lester and I discussed the process that we did with Jacksonville High School. So we would have Bob and Michelle to stack them up. And so anyone who would like to come after the demolition can get that up. But prior to that, after we have inventoried everything and done the auction, we'll have a proposal for you all to have a day at North Pulaski for anything, any trophy, anything that community members would like to take with them, to allow that to happen before we demolish anything else. So,
Is there a lot of stuff still there?
yes.
There weren't many trophies, were there, Bobby?
Hey, watch it.
There are a lot of things.
I went there too.
Flags, a lot of.
Can he get his hands flat? It's being mean.
There's a lot of, when you go back in the locker room and stuff, there's track stuff with in VHF, there's just a conglomerate of clothing.
So we've got this, our brick thing we're doing over here. Maybe we can put a couple of those bricks in there, get a couple of old bricks from Jacksonville High School. I know somebody that's got some.
I still have some.
We can maybe do as part of our memorial or
Legacy Walk. By the way, we sold 25 bricks, and if you would like to purchase an individual legacy brick there on sale for $100, you would want to be part of this first group. So
How many words can we put on it?
there are three lines.
25
25 characters, yeah.
When's the deadline for the first batch?
Well, actually, I sent it in to Mr. Pulaski today, but if you send it in to me by the end of this week, you can be part of it first.
Dana, I think we're known for our academia.
Right.
Whoa.
Our band was really, always very good.
I actually saw Miss D a few weeks ago. Was that?
Serious.
All right, North Pulaski High School chair donation.
Yes, sir. As we continue to move out of the building, we've had several community organizations to nonprofit organizations from the community to inquire about certain items in the facility. And so before you, the request is the city of Jacksonville is requesting the gallery chairs from North Pulaski High School auditorium so that they could be utilized in different city projects. And because it's the city, and of course, we've had several partnerships, including our current district office partnership, we recommend approval for the donation donation request to the city of Jacksonville.
All right,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Or do you want to have questions after the motion? All
How
in
many
favor?
chairs are we talking about?
How many chairs are we talking about?
317.
317.
The theater,
Auditorium chairs, like,
the theater group wants about 150, and then the city wants additional ones to go, I think, the courthouse and some other things. That's the project. they want to do. The theater being available.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, next item, we got licensed personnel military leave.
first reading.
You're welcome.
Want to join Ms. Brockway? She just purchased a legacy walk.
I don't know what I'm gonna say on it yet.
Board members are 500.
No.
So the next item on the agenda, of course, is the first reading for the 3.14 licensed personnel updates. We would like to update it to include military leave. At this point, it does not include military leave, and so this update will add the military service in time of war or emergency and military leave, civil defense leave, public health leave. And so the recommendation is to approve the policy, but of course, based on law, this is first reading for you to review and then ask any questions between now and next board meeting. At the next board meeting, you can decide to move to the second reading or take action on it. But this is just submitted for first reading.
Okay, any questions? We get to vote on that next month?
Next, you
All right. All right, next item, same situation. We've got licensed classified personnel appropriate address proposal.
In order to make sure that all of our scholars and staff and classified licensed staff members are following dress attire that's not offensive or goes against the policy, we've, per request, we've updated the 3.22, which is licensed attire, and then 8.16, which is classified personnel appropriate address for your first reading, and you can take action or move to second reading next month.
This is basically identically what's in the student dress code.
And if you accept, I forget to mention something, if you accept this proposal, because this came straight from the district stance per request, if you accept this proposal, it will go to our PPCs for 10 days of review, and then they will provide feedback for you all to consider for next month.
Any questions?
I don't think I can sit over here anymore, I'm asking too many questions. Is this, and I think, Dr. O, we talked about this, but I don't remember where we ended. Does this relax the teachers in the blue jeans and being able to wear those instead of special days?
This does not address the wearing of blue jeans. There's not a policy that actually dictates what staff members can and cannot wear. Currently, the policy is just one sentence. It says employees shall ensure that their dress and appearance are professional and appropriate to their positions. And so right now, as it stands, that's the one sentence that governs the decisions that the local school administration puts into place for their staff members. And so so mostly on Fridays, you will see the option to wear jeans with any type of school attire. It's not really consistent across the district right now, but there are schools who have implemented that dress code, the relaxed dress code policy on Fridays.
And is that a principal school level
Yes,
decision?
that's a principal decision.
All right, so we will vote on that next month as well, after with the recommendation from PPC. Next item we've got are legal transfers.
Yes, you have one request for 3 scholars. The parent has filed a request for the legal transfer of 3 students to transfer out of Jacksonville North Pulaski School District into Bologna Public School District. And the recommendation from the district is to deny the legal transfer.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Nay? All right, that passes. Next item we've got is personnel. I would remind everybody that any discussion on personnel must be held in executive session.
Do we have a couple of addendums we need to?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for reminding me there. First, before we get to personnel, we have an addendum on our desk. I would entertain a motion to add that addendum to the personnel.
Is it 1 or 2?
I have
This one,
It's just one. The addendum has an additional name at the top.
make a motion to add the addendum to personnel consideration.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Right.
Opposed? All right, that is attached. We've got personnel recommendations from Dr. Ola. Any discussion we need to go into executive session? Dr. Ola, you have recommendations for us?
Yes, sir. I recommend to approve the consideration of the personnel roster as outlined before you.
All right, got a motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? That passes unanimously. Next item is student disciplinary actions. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation. Let's see, 2 semesters?
One semester.
One semester, I'm sorry. one spring semester to 2022.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Passes unanimously. We'll pass those. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? That passes unanimously. Any other business on the agenda that, there?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right. We are adjourned. Thank y'all.